Welcome to Game of Roses. I'm Chad Colchin. Today is January 16th, and a new article came out about the greatest player our beloved game has ever seen, Nick Viall. This article is in Bustle. It is called The Viall Family Values, subtitled Could Bachelor Star Turned Relationship Expert Nick Viall and his wife and co-host Natalie Joy actually be the perfect couple? They sure think so, by Samantha Leach. I'm going to read this whole article. Feel free to join me if you want. I have to know what it says. Let's begin, shall we? There's a beautiful picture of Natalie Joy and Nick Viall with the California sun behind their heads. Viall looking lovingly at her, she delivering a perfect parasocial gaze to all of us out here in the parasocial world. Let's begin. It's impossible not to feel like a third wheel around newlyweds and new parents Nick Viall and Natalie Joy. I've trekked from New York to their Sherman Oaks recording studio to sit in on a taping of the Viall Files, the wildly successful relationship advice podcast from the former Bachelor star created in 2019 and that Joy now co-hosts, and join them for lunch nearby. All right. They say here that, who is this? Sorry, that's writing it. Samantha Leach says, it's a wildly successful relationship advice podcast. I don't know if that's exactly true. I know that Nick Viall wants to position himself as a relationship advice kind of expert, but the podcast, I think, primarily is about pop culture. The biggest episodes he has are when he's interviewing former Bachelor players or big kind of reality TV celebrities and doing his recaps and talking about the various reality shows. As much as he wants to distance himself from that and be just a relationship advice guru, he still is very much firmly attached to the Bachelor franchise and reality television for all of his celebrity, basically, which is what makes his podcast successful. Here we go. Though the restaurant they've selected is directly across the street, the pair holds hands as the three of us walk over. In a pair of well-worn cowboy boots, Viall seems to tower over Joy, who's dressed down in a form-fitting long-sleeve shirt with lace trimmings. This is very descriptive. His style feels SoCal with a twang, while the Georgia boy Joy comes by her own twang naturally. Fuck, this is going to be a good one. Once seated inside, they rarely break contact, with one of them resting their hand on the other's thigh at any given moment. They are that couple. Now, should be noted here, they are that couple while they're having lunch with a person they know is writing an article about them. This article, by the way, I don't know how this one was set up, but very usually these type of, kind of puff pieces about a couple or, oh, we're going to promote this person or that person just existing. He doesn't have anything that he's promoting, all of that. This is likely set up by a publicist. It's not like people at Bustle are just sitting around thinking like, you know what we should do? An article about how perfect Nick and Natalie are as a couple. And we're going to run with that. Generally speaking, and that might have been the case, I don't know. But generally speaking, things like this are all set up by publicists. So they are very aware when they're going to this lunch that everything they're doing is being noted, if not literally, at least psychologically, mentally, by this reporter who is then going to write an article about them. So all of their little precious moments, hands on thighs, these are all orchestrated for maximum value when this article comes out. Quote, I was telling Natalie the other week, she's really the first partner I've ever had where I feel like we're in a relationship. Ouch! Shots fired, Vanessa Grimaldi. Viall tells me in a laid-back drawl. I can just hear it now. I was telling Natalie the other week, she's really the first partner I've ever had where I feel like we're in a relationship. That's his laid-back drawl, at least in my mind. He tells me this in a laid-back drawl that undercuts the self-seriousness of his statement. The couple are now 8 months out from their country-themed wedding on a farm near Joy's hometown, where Joy walked down the aisle carrying their 2-month-old daughter, River, in her arms. We do things together. We talk through things. We're a team. That team is up against a lot of scrutiny. There's the finger wagging at their 18-year age difference. Nick and Nat are 44 and 26 respectively. The Bachelor fans who are still snarking about the smug reputation Viall earned over his 4 stints on the franchise between 2014 and 2017. That would be his rookie season in Andy Dorfman's season 10 of Bachelorette. That would be his reprisal season in Bachelorette season 11 with, of course, Caitlin Bristow, where he crashed that season. Then he had a stint on BIP season 6, I think, and he made an end run with Jen Saviano. They didn't get engaged, but he was looking at rings. And then, of course, his triumphant season as The Bachelor, wearing the crown in Bachelor season 21 which shot at the end of 2016 during the first Trump election. Sorry, where was I? I get very distracted. The Bachelor fans who are still snarking about the smug reputation Viall earned over his 4 stints on the franchise between 2014 and 2017. Also, the Reddit threads devoted to speculating on their personal lives. More on that later. I can only assume that's about the cheating rumors that were out there. Quote, when we first started dating, I was very self-conscious about the age gap, says Viall, but I didn't want to be so self-conscious about it that I didn't let our relationship happen. He's been very public about talking about how the real reason the relationship happened is because he thought she was so hot and their sex was so good. As he often... look at this picture, too. Beautiful. Absolutely beautiful. Both of them have stunning parasocial gazes. Hers is a little better than his. As he often preaches on the pod, Nick believes that one should protect their own energy above all else. When people say that to me, that I'm hated, it hurts my feelings, but I have the ability to not go down a rabbit hole and try to justify myself to someone I've never met, Viall says. That's really helped us, especially as new parents. What's the best use of our energy? That's good advice for anybody. Specifically, it's very good advice for anybody who's a public figure of some kind, but I totally agree with this. You can often go down these rabbit holes. I'm nowhere near Viall's level in terms of like my social media presence or whatever, but every once in a while you'll read some shit about yourself and be like, ooh, that sucks. But I agree with what he's saying here, just to not give that energy or go down that path, basically. On the show, Viall is famous for being both unapologetically arrogant that's true, and almost eerily on the money in terms of his relationship advice. When it comes to Joy, however, he's nothing but serious. So serious that after a few scheduling mishaps, the couple flew me out to Los Angeles to witness their relationship. So the couple flew me out to Los Angeles makes it sound like they are paying Bustle to write this article, which obviously should be favorable to them. So serious that there's strikingly very little playful ribbing between the two. The closest Viall gets is when I ask about dating, red flags, and he mentions that Joy leaves coffee cups all over the place. Isn't that's just so terrible. Now, it seems to me from the way this is being written that they were on their best behavior, knowing that this was going to be an article. So they are doing everything as they want it to be seen, because Viall is, if nothing else, he's very good at controlling narratives and making sure the stories reported in Bustle, Us Weekly, wherever else, People, are the stories he wants to be reported. He controls his kind of flow of information of the Bachelor world and reality television with an iron fist. He's well known for never DMing people things, but making phone calls when he wants things done so that there's no paper trail left behind. And I think all of that applies to his interactions here with this reporter as well. Quote, I've always secretly thought Natalie was the star, Viall says, leaning back as that is not true. The sleeves of his flannel are rolled up enough to expose the mosaic of tattoos on his inner forearm. Quote, she's always one of the most engaging people in the room. People are drawn to her. I think Natalie's aspirational. He does not think she's the star. He thinks he is the star. That's why it's called the Viall Files. And no name change, even though she's a co-host, has been even bandied about. There have been no attempts to say maybe it should be called the Viall and Joy Files. Joy chimes in. Nick doesn't give himself enough credit. Yes, he actually does. He's brilliant to watch when he does audience advice calls that I'm lucky enough to sit in with. It's like he finds the one word that everyone else is overlooking. This is absolutely incredible. This article, I can't believe it's real. What a gift. As the two bask in their mutual adoration, I realize what's going on here. Viall and Joy don't just feel they found the best partner in the world for themselves. These two believe they've each landed the best partner in the world, period. This is what they're selling on and off the podcast. And that's a great phrase right there. This is what they're, let's just highlight this one word, selling. Because make no mistake, they are in a real relationship. They are married. They do have a kid. They are also selling every part of their relationship as media. It's what they do on the podcast. It's what they're doing in this article. Selling. Why not listen to Nick and Natalie? Just look where it got them. There's some pictures. There we get his, let's see, can we zoom in on this picture a little bit? Yeah. There's his, what'd she call it, a mosaic of tattoos. He's got a cherub there, a Cupid, prayer hands. There's a Virgin Mary maybe praying with a rosary. 414. Is that his Wisconsin area code? I don't know. He's got an X. I have no idea what that's for. A barbed wire heart, it looks like. I can't tell what some of these other ones are. But there he is, nonetheless. I love these pictures where Natalie Joy is looking directly into the camera with her parasocial gaze, and Viall is pondering into the distance, just like he did on season 21 of The Bachelor. Quote, "You're unreal." Those were the first words Joy ever exchanged with Viall, DMing them to him over Instagram in 2019. "If I really thought he would end up being my husband and the father of my children, I probably would have put more thought into it and been funny or witty," she says now, her blush accented nose scrunching up. This writing is fucking amazing. He sent back a photo that I was tagged in of me on the beach. I think he said, "Are you Jesus?" because it looked like I was walking on water. I don't know if we've ever gotten the specifics of what their first DMs were, but we know that she claimed she didn't know he was a bachelor, that she just thought he was some hot guy on Instagram posting thirst traps, and it worked on her. At the time, Joy was a fresh-to-the-workforce plastic surgery tech living in Savannah, Georgia, where she grew up as the youngest of 7 children. Viall, who grew up in Waukesha, Wisconsin, is the second oldest of 11 children. I believe that large brood is what gave him an early advantage to practice his psychosocial dynamics with all of these different siblings in that case, but vying for attention, vying maybe for food at the table, who knows? But that's what allowed him to wade into the waters of the Bachelor franchise and compete against 20 plus other guys for that same kind of attention. A Snow White beauty, Joy also dabbled in some local modeling and influencing. Her first Instagram post is from a shoot where she's splayed on a rock, showing off her heavily highlighted hair and substantial underboob. In another, she pairs a thong bikini bottom with just as much side boob. Now, this is the reporting I've come here for, Bustle. Viall, meanwhile, had traded his work as an account executive at Salesforce for a career as a smarter than your average reality television contestant, and was now in the throes of launching the podcast. And when the Viall Files debuted almost exactly 6 years ago, quickly becoming so popular that within a year it had notched a People's Choice Award nomination. By the way, the People's Choice Award nominations you simply pay for. I tried to do it for Game of Roses at one point because I thought it was funny. I thought it would be funny if we could go head to head with him in that competition. You just pay for it, and then people vote on it. So, becoming so popular that within a year it had notched a People's Choice Award, he paid for it. Viall proved himself as a smarter than your average host at Dating Expert 2, a best-selling advice book, Don't Text Your Ex Happy Birthday, which I have somewhere back here on this bookshelf, followed in 2022, as well as a gig co-hosting Patty Sanger, the Matchmaker on CW last year. There is no, by the way, I watched that whole season. If you want to watch it with me, you can go to our Patreon, patreon.com/Game of Roses. Watch every episode with me. I really scrutinize how that show was made, what his role was in it. His role was her sidekick, and in many episodes, his role was drastically diminished in the edit. I don't think he was very good at it, and I don't think they think he was very good at it. Also, there is no word on the street that show is getting a second season. Quote, this is the pull quote, "Having River, you realize what's important in life, and it's protecting our family. That's why we don't give oxygen to any rumors about us." With Viall in Los Angeles and Joy in Savannah, I assume that rumor they're talking about, again, is the rumor that she cheated on him. I have nothing to say about that. That is their business. They can handle it however they like, whether it was true or not. Go in Reddit. You can find some evidence. With Viall in Los Angeles and Joy in Savannah, they arranged to meet for the first time in New York City. Joy, who at 21 flew in to meet Viall while he was there on a business trip, says, quote, "From the first weekend we spent together, I knew it would be him. Take that, fantasy suite." Oh, nice, a Bachelor shout out. But Viall wasn't ready to commit. It was like, okay, well, you don't want to date me. I still have to live my life. There were other people that I thought were cute and that I was going out on dates with, she says in a coy tone directed at Viall. One time he FaceTimed me while I was getting ready for a date. He was like, "Text me while you're there." Like, no, but then he was blowing up my phone and I'm on this date. Oh shit, this is cringe as hell. So he knew she was on a date with some other dude and he was texting her during the date. You do have to show people that they're taking you for granted, Viall says, squeezing Joy's knee. Natalie played it perfectly. So he still recognizes the gameplay even in his own dating relationships out in the real world. Beautiful. I might have poked the bear a little bit. Like, that's an interesting reaction for someone who doesn't want to date me. But there was no, if I do this, then I'll get him to do this. It never went that deep, she says. For Viall, though, it was checkmate. "We all love to play games," he says, smirking, including The Bachelor, my favorite professional sport. Here's another picture of them, by the way, with Viall looking at her looking at us. By December 2020, Joy had uprooted her life and moved in with Viall in the modern marble-floored ranch he'd recently purchased in Valley Village. Because Joy specialized in ocular procedures, think eye lifts, she had no trouble finding work in the city of plastic. Nice one. And despite having only spent weekends together here and there, they both say the transition to living together full-time was fairly seamless. Quote, I remember just being very self-conscious about her moving across the country to live my life, says Viall. I was trying to be in tune and recognize what she did and how easy it was for me given that I didn't have to change much. Joy's first appearance on Viall's podcast came the following year when she joined him for a Bachelorette recap. Once pregnant and on leave from work in 2023, she became a regular guest host. Then when River was born, Joy became an official co-host. Quote, I think she brings an element of coolness to the show, Viall says. I really respect her taste. She knows what's trendy. I'm definitely the friend who's going to give you the tough advice, the big brother, so to speak. But I feel like Natalie's a person I want to hang out with. Here's another pull quote. Something Nick says all the time is, do you want to be happy or do you want to be right? That's something that I hear all the time in my head. That's how he ends arguments with her, maybe. Do you want to be happy or do you want to be right? Because I can pull the plug. You're not going to be a co-host unless I say you are. I doubt that's what happens, but in my head, it is. During the segment taping, I sat in on the couple recap an episode of The Real Housewives of Salt Lake City, in which newbie fashionista Bronwyn Newport was at odds with her husband, Todd Bradley, who's 26 years her senior, sitting in their Hunter Green studio where the Viall Files emblazoned sign where a the Viall Files emblazoned sign reading, don't be a hero, tell us you have to pee, hangs on the door. Joy appears at ease while disagreeing with Viall. He praises Bradley for being a successful head of the household as they dissect the couple's clash. Joy criticizes Bradley for sounding like a scolding dad to his wife. On the Viall Files, this is in parentheses here, Joy is always the girl's girl, taking the side of the woman in any situation. Oh, well, unless she's talking about Katie Thurston. On the show, the couple often use their own history as a case study, see their playful conversations about postpartum sex logistics. It's a habit they slip into during our interview too, offering up soundbitey takeaways from the different stages of their relationship. We really said, hey, it's probably not the smartest choice for you to move in right away. It definitely has risks, but the alternatives are also not ideal as well, says Viall. I believe in risk taking. Just acknowledge the risk you're taking. Still, there's one topic, Viall and Joy refuse to wade into on the podcast or otherwise the rumors which have proliferated across Reddit about their home life. Given that their marriage is a cornerstone of the podcast, why hold back now? That is the cheating, I presume. The rumor was that she was cheating with a guy named, I believe, the shoe surgeon or the shoe doctor or something like this. You can look it up. It's all over Reddit. I have no idea what the truth of the matter is, and I think it truly is a thing that's like in their relationship for them to deal with however they want. They are public figures. That information does come out. There's conjecture online. Like I said, there's giant Reddit threads devoted to this. Feel free to indulge in that if you like. Quote, having River, you realize what's important in life, and it's protecting our family. That's why we don't give oxygen to any rumors about us, says Joy. Then it's going to be a headline. Then River's going to see it one day. She's like, wait, what happened? And it's like, none of it matters. We know what the truth is. We know what happens in our lives. A couple more pictures of them. Oh, there we get a double parasocial gaze. Them gazing into one another's eyes. There's also a brand to protect. Now we're getting somewhere. The Viall Files, which is currently the second most popular relationship podcast on Apple, now airs 3 to 4 times a week. In January 2024, Viall also launched Envy Media, an audio-first lifestyle company that produces podcasts from reality stars like Vanderpump Rules, Katie Maloney, and former Real Housewives Crystal Kung Minkoff and Cynthia Bailey, and is looking to develop shows in other genres like true crime and sports. Quote, I want it to be the sports center of reality TV. Wonder where he got that idea. Truly wonder where he got that idea. We have been saying that about Game of Roses since we launched. And pop culture, Viall says, another way he's looking to level up. I definitely want to go back to school to become a therapist so I can actually stop having to say I'm not one when giving advice. I feel like that's a 0% chance. I've lived a lot of life. This is another quote. I've survived a lot. It gives me a level of perspective that maybe other people don't have. On the great podcast spectrum of masculinity, Viall's sensitive bro approach has little in common with right-wing friendly alphas like Joe Rogan and Theo Vaughn. The majority of the show's guests are women, as are its callers who turn to Viall for help with everything from being cheated on while pregnant to navigating their boyfriend's secret double life. But Viall is also wary of the other side of the coin, the performatively feminist bros. Interesting, he doesn't see himself that way. In recent days, as It Ends With Us stars Justin Baldoni and Blake Lively entered a public legal battle over an alleged smear campaign, podcast comments Viall made in August in which he questioned why Baldoni hired the same crisis PR team as Johnny Depp and how quickly the internet pounced on Lively went viral on social media. Quote, I had the chance to interview Justin a couple of years ago on my show, and I just had a feeling he wasn't the person he so loudly portrayed himself to be. Viall tells me today about those prescient remarks. When the story broke that the entire cast and author of the book the movie is based on had clearly distanced themselves from him, I wasn't that surprised. However, I was surprised how quickly the internet seemed to start trying to find reasons to discredit Blake by bringing up old interviews and past alleged mistakes. Now, this is like one of the powers of Viall, and I think why his podcast is so successful. He doesn't just talk about reality TV. He's not just giving dating advice. He finds a way to interject himself into like these giant pop culture stories. He also had Gypsy Rose on for an interview, I believe the week or maybe even the day after she got out of prison. So he will find these kind of like hot button issues in pop culture. And for whatever reason, he's like at the center of them, delivering commentary or doing the interview. What does he think all the credit he's been getting? I think the internet has made it easy for people to share other people's opinions rather than come up with their own. The story just kind of reinforced that. But to him, that kind of opinioning is just another day at the office. Exactly. When I share my opinion on this topic, I didn't see it as speaking out as much. It was me sharing my opinion and challenging my audience to ask themselves different questions. Although Joy is more measured, is a more measured, stabilizing presence on the podcast. She's well aware of her worth. Him being the oldest, me being the youngest, I think it brings different perspectives, but I've always been the friend that my friends go to when they're having trouble in these scenarios. I've lived a lot of life to be the age that I am, Joy says. She's an old soul. I think I've been through a lot. I've survived a lot, and I think it gives me a level of perspective that maybe they don't have. And when Viall looks to the future of the show, he insists it's Joy at the forefront. Shortly after we got married, we needed to do a will. Natalie was like, yeah, what would I do? Viall says, referring to an outcome where he dies first. Then I was like, you would take over the show. It was a moment where I was like, yeah, that's what you would do. So in the event of a Nick Viall death, Natalie Joy just takes over the Viall Files. Is it still called the Viall Files? I've always secretly thought Natalie was the star. People are drawn to her. We already saw that pull quote in the article. Just 3 more paragraphs here. 2 hours into our time together, Viall's assuredness doesn't surprise me. Whether they're deciding what time to give River a bath or carving out a window within an NFL stacked Sunday to decorate their house for Halloween, each topic is an invitation to highlight their belief that the other is the best parent, partner, and even podcast host imaginable. Quote, I think something Nick says all the time is, do you want to be happy or do you want to be right? That's something that I hear all the time in my head with little things throughout life, Joy says. Is this something I'm going to care about 20 minutes from now or tomorrow? Then it's just not worth getting mad about and trying to prove you're right. As we wrap up lunch and say goodbye at the restaurant, we accidentally end up in a group hug. Accidentally. It's a fitting, they planned it. It's a fitting end to my time with who may be the world's most confident couple. When they cross the street to head back to the studio, I notice they're still holding hands. Pretty well written article here. I did enjoy it very much by Samantha Leach. Thank you so much. I encourage everybody, go check this out on Bustle if you want for yourself. My big takeaways from this were, this was entirely orchestrated. I would guess planned by a publicist to make them look good. For what reason, I really don't know, because I don't think they have anything big coming up. Maybe it's just a kickoff of January to remind you the Viall Files is the biggest podcast in this space going. I also like how he said that he wants his network to be the sports center of reality TV. That's literally something we say on our podcast constantly. Thank you for listening to Game of Roses, Nick Viall. And thank you to all of you for going on this journey with me through this brand new Bustle article about the greatest player who has ever played the game.